Well, I am in Kansas City, Missouri. Last stop in a photo journey across Colorado and Nebraska. But I found two architectural gems in Kansas City. I'm going to photograph them both. Stick around. Well, I made it to Kansas City. I'm heading out tomorrow. So I did some quick research on architecture in Kansas City, some maybe new, interesting buildings, and I found two. So I'm shooting one of them now. It is incredible. Let me turn this around, and you will see this is the Independence Temple associated with some church, I don't remember. So I'm gonna have to get my wide-angle lens out, try to get this from different angles. This would be a fun one to process in Photoshop as well, I think. Well, I thought this angle would be pretty good because the sun's coming in from the side. I thought it would just add some dimensionality to it. But you do have the problem of a very wide dynamic range, the shadows over here versus the highlights. So this might work because I think I can pull up the shadows in post, but let me move around this way and see how it looks. Well, photographing from this side is impossible. For some reason, there are fences all around. I'm going to keep walking down, see if I can get a different angle up ahead. Well, this fence continues for some time here. I guess I'll walk a little bit further, see what it looks like from the other side. Of course, on the other side, I'll have the same issue where the sun is hitting part of it and part of it's in shadow. Right now, it's kind of full on in sun. It would be great, but this is a real mess in front. Well, the fence ends here, but unfortunately over here, there's a building that kind of blocks the bottom part of the chapel. So I'm gonna go back to where I was, just get some more shots and then move on. Well, I'm back on the other side. I'm gonna get some shots here. I could break out the tripod, try a long exposure, but the clouds back there are very high and wispy, so I don't think I would get any sort of cool cloud movement even if I tried it. Plus, I'm gonna move on to my next subject pretty soon. Glad I made this trip. It's a really cool structure. Again, I think in black and white, with a lot of contrast, this is gonna look pretty cool. The other architectural site I want to go to is about 20 minutes away, and I kind of have to wait till it's getting closer to sunset there just because the angle of the light, I think. But I'm going to head over there now just so I can find parking and get it set. Right now though, I'll put up the shot I got here. Hopefully it's a good one. Well, I drove over to the other location. It is the Kauffman Center for Performing Arts. I had to park a little ways away from it. There's no good parking right near the Performing Arts Center, but a little walk probably does me good. Well, on my way to my parking spot, I did a drive-by, and it's really big, and I'm not sure I can get far enough back. I'll use my wide-angle lens to try to capture the whole thing, but it's going to be a little tricky. I brought my tripod with me just in case I have to do a pano and stitch it together. A little easier if my camera's still. Well, I made it over here. As you can see it behind me, it's really incredible. A little reminiscent of the Sydney Opera House. I don't know. I'll check who the architect is. I'll put it up in the corner of the screen or something, but let me just, I'm so excited. Can't even breathe, plus that walk. Let me get my camera out and get some shots. From this angle, which is sort of straight on, I can't get the whole thing in. Let's see if I can get up on the hill here. I don't think it's gonna work, but gotta break out the tripod probably. Well, from this angle, I can get it in with my 16 to 35 millimeter lens. So it's not head on, but I think it's still pretty interesting. You know, as the sun sets, it's gonna move closer to in front of the building. I don't know if to get there. This is facing, I guess, north-ish. And so the sun setting in the west is kind of scraping along the building this way, which is pretty cool. Again, it gives you some dimensionality to it. With like a little bit more light on it, so I'll be patient and wait. I'll try the other angle as well. So I could get back on the street a little bit. It doesn't line up perfectly with the center of the building, but I could get the whole building in. The issue I have is I got a lot of distractions like the light post, the street sign, the stop sign, that light. Okay, I've got my camera on a tripod. I'm gonna shoot vertically and I'll take a series of shots, leaving a lot of room on either side, then a lot of overlap. So I'm shooting wide, you know, I'll be at 16 millimeters. And then I'm hoping in Photoshop I can stitch them together. Well, I took a bunch of those panos, tried to make it pretty wide so I could crop in, because sometimes you lose pixels. So I hope I got it. I think I did. I am going to get I have my long lens out, try to focus in on some of the architectural details, which are amazing. Cool about this building is I don't think I'm going to need to do much at all in post. I'm going to convert to black and white, maybe increase clarity and contrast a bit. I can darken the blue so the sky goes a little darker, but it's just going to pop given how the light is hitting it. It's really amazing. You know, I think the inside of this building is pretty cool too, and I wasn't even thinking about going in because I figured I couldn't get in, but I see people walking in there, so I'm gonna go across the street, see if I can get in there and get some interior shots as well. Well, went up, security guard was there, cannot go in. It is a private event. I tried to score an invite from some people walking in, but they didn't know who I was. So shocking, because I have such a friendly face. Probably not dressed appropriately anyway. That's okay. Well, that was awesome. For those of you into Photoshop, stick around. I'm gonna show you how I process that first image in Photoshop. This one I don't think is going to require too much. Hey, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up, a like, and until next time. I am back home on my computer, and what I want to do is show you how I turned this image into this image in Photoshop. Now, if you look at this, this doesn't really look like one of the shots I took at sunset, and that is because it is not. I actually went back the next day at sunrise, or just after sunrise, where the light was a lot softer, and I felt I got better shots. And so I didn't vlog it at all, but that's why it looks different. Now, when I process this, what I want to do is really two things. Well, three things. I want to create some drama here and make this more dramatic. This is not bad, but it's kind of flat. Secondly, I want to accentuate some of the contrast in this image. There's some darks, there's some whites in there, and I just want to accentuate that and emphasize it. And then lastly, this is obviously a roundish building, and I want to accentuate the curvature as well as the contrast. So those are my goals when I do it. The first thing I want to do is darken the sky. Now, I've made a number of selections already. To do that, I use the polygonal lasso tool because these are mostly straight lines in there, and it was pretty easy to go through. It took a while, but again, not terribly challenging. And I save those selections by making the selection. I go to Select, I hit, it's grayed out now, but save selection, and think of a name for it. So now I can load all those selections. And so I'm going to choose the sky, and you'll see the marching ants around the sky, and I'm going to darken it. And so I'm just going to use a exposure adjustment layer, and I'm just going to pull back on the exposure, and that is going to, as you see, darken the sky. I don't want to go all the way black. Really looks pretty fake, but I want the building to pop, and so I just want that sky to be, reasonably dark, which is kind of what you see here. I could also darken the foreground a little bit as well, and I made that selection. So if I go to load selection, I think I called it ground, and it's basically everything except the building and the sky. I'm just going to use an exposure adjustment layer again and pull back a little bit. Again, that building's really going to pop. Now, I've selected different parts of the building, and that allowed me to really accentuate the curvature and create the contrast. So let's start with the lowest portion of the building, which I assume I called 1. Let's hope. That is correct. To do these, I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer. So I'm going to pull that up. And the first thing I'm going to do is brighten up the entire selection. So I'm going to pull up on this line, and you can see that whole selection is getting brighter. But to accentuate the curvature of it, I really just want the middle to be brighter. So I'm going to reselect it. I'm going to go to Select, Reselect. I'm going to choose my gradient tool. And specifically, I want the reflected gradient tool, which is chosen. So if I pull out from the middle, you will see that the middle portion becomes bright because that's the only part of the selection that's getting affected by the curves adjustment layer. So here's the before, here's the after. And I can actually accentuate this a little bit more by, I have that selection made. I'm going to go to a curves adjustment layer. I'm going to pull down. And what I want to do is darken the outside. And so again, I'm going to use the gradient tool, but I need to reselect. Got the gradient tool. This time I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to choose black as the foreground. And now when I pull out, what will happen is the outside becomes darker, or really what I'm doing is taking away that effect from the middle. And so that's the effect. So here's the before, and here's the after. Much more dramatic. I'm going to deselect this piece by hitting Command D. Now, I basically did the same thing to some of the lighter portions of the upper part of the temple. So just to give you a sense, I won't go through them all, but if I choose 2, you'll see the selection there. It's just that piece right above it. And again, I'm going to use the curves adjustment layer, pull up to make sure that the entire selection is brightened up. I will reselect. Got to make my foreground color white. I'm going to change it there. I got my reflective gradient tool and just pull out from the middle. And again, I'm going to be getting that effect where that middle becomes brighter and it accentuates the curvature. And I did that in a series of ways. As I went up the temple, I'll deselect by hitting Command D. And then I also darkened parts of the pieces that were a little darker. Let me see if I can find one of those, like I call them 2A. So it's a small selection, but you'll see that. And I just basically used a curves adjustment layer and pulled down, which darkened it. But at the end of the day, let me just take away what I've done here. I'm going to take away this piece too. But at the end of the day, this is what I got. And so again, accentuating the curvature and creating contrast and drama. I ended it by just adding, kind of one curves adjustment layer at the end. It just kind of pulled up on the right and pulled down on the left, which really creates contrast. So really cool building, not a terribly challenging Photoshop process, but I think I took something that was a good shot and created drama with it and made the building look even more artistic, if you will. Hope that helps. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure you do subscribe to the channel, and until next time.